Let me paint you a picture real quick. You just pulled a massive chase card, and as you're admiring your new chase card, you can't help but notice the front is perfectly centered. The back, also perfectly centered, and there is no whitening at all. So in order to preserve the pristine condition of this card, you want to send it to get graded. But there are several options when it comes to grading, and you're not sure which one you should choose. So if you're trying to identify what grading company you should use, you are in the perfect place right now. But real quick, my name is Ben, and welcome to my channel, Houndoom's House, where we talk a variety of things Pokemon, including buying, selling, grading, and collecting. In today's video, we are going to do a breakdown of the 4 big grading companies right now for Pokemon cards: PSA, Beckett, CGC, and Tag. We're going to run through pretty much everything about these grading companies. I'm going to keep it brief so it's not too overwhelming, but we're going to touch on things like cost, reputation, turnaround time, market share, and things of that nature. So that being said, let's jump into this. To kick us off, let's take a look at cost and estimated turnaround time. There's a lot of information on this table, so I recommend maybe just taking a screenshot for future reference. Most of these companies have about 4 to 5 standard tiers, I would say, of grading services that you can purchase. Now listen, I don't want to lose you this soon into the video, so I'm not going to go through all of these numbers. I'm just going to sum it up for you. Essentially, with your lowest and bulk tier, you're going to have a minimum card requirement that you're going to need to satisfy in order to qualify for that grading tier. The value tier generally doesn't have a minimum, but like the bulk tier, is cheaper and takes much longer to get back. The standard regular tier is probably where most people might be in terms of, hey, I've got a few PC cards and I don't want them out there forever. I'd like to get them back soon, but like it doesn't need to be next week. Express tier is where maybe you have something that's really important to you, or maybe it's something that's a little more valuable and you want to get it back quicker. That's when you're going to use Express. Highest tier is going to be for the cards that probably most of us don't have. I don't think I've got anything that I would need to send at highest tier. You're talking all-time grails for that. And then at the bottom, I just averaged out what it kind of comes to for these, common grading tiers. Next, we're going to take a look at the grading scale. So PSA uses a scale of just 1 to 10. Half points can be used, so you are capable of getting a grade between 2 whole numbers. So that's why you see probably things like an 8.5 pretty often. There are no variations on 10s. There is one Gem Mint 10 grade with PSA. Beckett, 1 to 10, once again. Just like PSA, half points can be used here, and you've probably seen a lot of Beckett 9.5s out there. They do provide subgrades so that you actually have a little more visibility into what created the overall grade. They've also got 2 variations for a 10. There's a pristine 10 that's got a gold label, and then the most sought after in the game is the black label pristine 10. Tag, 1 to 10 scale, and half points again can be used, and I feel like Tag actually probably uses these half grades more because of how they calculate their overall grades. How they do that is using a 1,000 point score that is used to determine the grade based on what that 1,000 point score is. Tag's also got 2 variations for their 10s as well. They have a Gem Mint 10 and a pristine 10, which is a score of 990 or over in that overall 1,000 point score. CGC, just like everyone else, is on a 1 to 10 scale as well. Half points can be used there. And they've also got 2 variations for 10. They've got a Gem Mint 10 and a pristine 10 that's got a black and gold label. So taking a look at the slabs and the different variations of slabs, starting with PSA, they've really only got 1 slab. Everything looks the exact same no matter the grade. The only difference there is just going to be whatever the grade is. So moving on to Beckett, they've got a handful of variations when it comes to their slabs. Anything under a 9.5 is a silver label, as we can see with the Venusaur right here. A 9.5 or a pristine 10 comes with a gold label, as we can see with the Blastoise. And then we've got the black label 10, as we can see on this Giratina, and that is for any card that gets the highest mark of 10 in all 4 subgrades. Tag doesn't have any variations of their slabs. It's just going to depend on the score, but I did include 2 here because there are 2 variations of 10. You've got the Gem Mint 10 on the left, and then you've got the pristine 10 on the right. But as you can see, there's nothing special about the Pristine 10 like with what you get on the Beckett Black Label. And last, we've got CGC, who has a white label for everything Gem Mint 10 and below. And if you do get the Pristine 10, you get an awesome black and gold label, sort of like Beckett, with a huge golden 10. I personally love the CGC Pristine 10 label. All right, moving on to market share and just the total TCG cards graded. Over the last 7 months, PSA is grading in the millions when it comes to TCG cards graded per month. Beckett's hovering somewhere around 60,000 TCG cards graded per month. CGC is around 400,000 cards graded per month. And then Tag is sort of hovering around 40,000 TCG cards graded per month. And if you look at the bottom, you can see in September, Tag actually wasn't even being tracked by GemRate when it comes to TCG cards graded per month. And yes, I got this from gemrate.com. So what makes these companies unique and what makes them stand out from their competition? PSA is very popular among the collectibles community. It's pretty much known as like the premier grading company, and it has extremely high liquidity. When it comes to a standard Gem Mint 10 grade, PSA has the highest premium. Beckett is arguably the toughest grading company. They offer the Black Label Pristine 10, which we covered earlier, which demands the highest premium in all of card grading. Beckett also does provide those subgrades for the 4 categories of grading: centering, corners, edges, and surface, so you've got some visibility into how you actually got the grade. Tag is interesting because instead of opting for human grading, they leverage AI and laser scanning for their grading. Tag offers a dig report that offers transparency into a card's grade via high-resolution scans and their scoring. Depending on the grading tier that you purchase with Tag, you can actually get the 1,000 point score on the slab and ranked in the system. And Tag, like we mentioned earlier, offers that Pristine 10 as well when the score of your card is 990 or higher. Last, we've got CGC, who is very popular in the Pokemon community specifically. They're often recognized as the preferred choice for grading error cards, and they also offer a Pristine 10 grade that demands a premium that's generally higher than a PSA 10, but not quite as high as a Black Label. Let's take a look at their liquidity and their value. PSA is the undisputed #1 when it comes to liquidity and value. It is highly popular among vendors, card shops, collectors, and investors. It's just got the highest premium on standard 1 through 10 grades. For Beckett, the Black Label 10s are highly sought after collection pieces. The Pristine 10s as well still carry a premium due to how tough the grading can be. However, I would say the 9.5 grades and below sometimes struggle to meet the demand of some of these other grading companies. Beckett's pretty well recognized, so they're usually accepted among vendors and card shops. Moving on to Tag, they're still pretty new to the scene, and they're not really trusted yet by vendors and card shops, so their population base is mostly collectors. The premiums generally lag behind PSA by, I'd say, 5 to 10%. Meaning, if a PSA Gem Mint 10 is 100% value, a Tag Gem Mint 10 is usually 90 to 95% value. It's probably the least liquid among all of these options. As I alluded to in the last slide, CGC is very popular in the Pokemon community, so they're pretty well recognized. The Gold Pristine 10s are pretty highly sought after. However, the standard Gem Mint 10 grade for CGC generally comps behind the other Gem Mint 10s because of what I would call a perception as easier to achieve. Let's take a look at the reputation of these companies. PSA has a long-standing history in the TCG and sports card space and has historically been the top option. However, they're currently facing a lot of criticism regarding customer service, their buyback strategy, grading costs, and their turnaround times. Beckett, just like PSA, also has a long-time industry presence. They were actually recently acquired by Collectors, which is PSA's parent company. That's caused a lot of concern for the quality of their product and just monopolization concerns overall. And throughout the years, reports of poor customer service have kind of lingered on. Tag is the newest to the grading scene, having officially launched in 2022. They're currently dealing with some growing pains that have significantly impacted the quality of the product they offer. And like Beckett, reports of poor customer service have sort of lingered on. CGC has really solidified itself as a TCG specialist in recent years. In 2025, they did have a huge scandal regarding Pokemon prototype cards that sort of damaged their reputation. However, I would say that they're generally known for their speed and efficiency in bulk submissions. So now to answer the big question, who should you choose? I would say if you want to maximize your overall resale value and you want to have extremely high liquidity, go with PSA. That being said, you also need to be okay with higher costs of grading, higher turnaround times, and upcharges depending on the grades that some of your cards get. So let's move on to Beckett. I would say you go with them if you want to shoot for the moon on some exceptionally well-conditioned cards. Or maybe you just want to test your eye for really minty cards. If so, go with Beckett because I'm sure you'll learn a lot about how good of a grader you are. In fact, that's something that'll be coming up on this channel. So maybe you're thinking about Tag. I would say, yeah, if you're grading for your personal collection, or maybe you're running an online storefront, Tag's a great option. Or maybe, no matter what, you just want better transparency into why your card got the grade it did. If that's the case, go Tag. Now, your last option, CGC. If you just want a reliable experience that is affordable and mostly efficient, and you still want to have reasonable value and liquidity, go CGC. Personally, for what I'm doing right now, I fall, I would say, into the Tag and CGC categories, which is where I have sent all of my submissions this year. But the answer for me is not necessarily the answer for you. And so I hope this video gave you the answer that you need to decide where you're going to send your cards for grading. And that wraps us up. I appreciate all of the support so far on this channel. It's been a blast making this type of content, and I'm really happy to connect with everyone out there and just talk the hobby. So again, if you watch this whole thing, I really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button below if you want to see more of this content, and let me know, who'd you choose? But that's all, everybody. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.